Shalom Talmidim, we are ready to begin Parshat Chukat, discussing the mitzvah of Para Aduma and types of mitzvot, as well as some historical background to this mitzvah. So he starts off, Vadaber Hashem el Moshe ve'el Aaron, and more. Again, addressing Hashem speaking, Vadaber, spoke, Hashem, who's speaking to, el Moshe ve'el Aaron, speaking to both of them, Lemor, and tell us. What should they say? Lemor means that they should say it to other people. They should say something, or they should do something, and communicate something that they should do. So Moshe and Aaron are going to tell somebody something. And they say, Zot Chukat HaTorah. This is the mitzvah of the Torah. Asher tziva Hashem lemor, that Hashem says, commanded us to do. So we're going to talk about what a mitzvah is, tziva, but he commanded to stay with a simple understanding right now. Deber Bnei Yisrael, speak to the Bnei Yisrael. Vayechulecha para aduma tamima. You should take a para aduma, a cow that's red, tamima that's perfect. Asher ein ba'mum, that has no blemish. Asher lo ala aleha ol, that has never been worked. We're going to go through each one of these sections one by one so that you guys can totally translate this pasuk. This is going to be one of the biggest pasukim of the parsha. This unit, this parak, and I'll just mean long. Zot Chukat HaTorah. This is a decree of the Torah. We're going to define these later, but a chok, or a chukat, is a mitzvah that we don't fully understand. It just is. We kind of only do it because Hashem said to do it. It's not something that we can fully understand, like don't kill, or don't steal, or even not to do avodah zarah, right? It's just something that we just trust Hashem says to do it. It's a mitzvah, and that's why we do it. This is the paradigm. This is the essential chukat Torah, the chok of the Torah. When it says it's chukat Torah, it's saying it's the biggest one of those chukim in the Torah. So, zot chukat Torah. What does that mean? Asher tziva Hashem lemor, that Hashem has commanded. Right here, it's tziva Hashem, the Hashem talking, and tziva, the verb, are different order than earlier, but it's still only one here. Lemor, saying. What is he telling them that they should communicate to them? What is he going to quote to them? So Asher tziva Hashem, saying that Hashem has commanded, saying. So try that one out as well. We're going to keep breaking them into small pieces for this unit. Deber el Bnei Yisrael, speak to the Bnei Yisrael, right? Moshe and Aaron are told to gather them up together and speak to the whole community to communicate this message, this mitzvah. Vayechu elecha para aduma tamima. You should take a perfectly red cow. Para, cow, para, cow. Aduma is red, so it's a red cow. Tamima, that is perfect. Now, this does not happen so often. That is not the classic color. In terms of red, it's not like a bright red. It's still like a rusty red. It looks like a normal cow, but it is not a very common color of cow. And we're going to see from Rashi that it has to be really, really tamima, perfect. It is a very rare thing to happen. Maybe with genetics, it would happen more often, but throughout history, it is not something that is so common. So you're going to take the same word, like we saw, the same word, they're going to take it. Alecha, for you, for yourself. So that word means a lot, actually. Para aduma tamima. Take a shot at this pasuk. Asher ein ba mum, that has no blemish. A blemish would be like a cut or scar. It could be some other disformity or disfigurement, or even the wrong color. Let's see in Rashi that even if it has a few hairs that are not red, it's done. It has to be tamima. It has to be perfect. So what does asher ein ba mum mean? And also asher lo ala aleha ol, that has never had an ol. This is an ol. It is something that's kind of put on the neck to kind of help work the cow. I think this one actually might be a medical one, but it is the same idea nonetheless. And that's actually not sure. but it is something that helps work the cow, that it's going to guide or steer the cow. So once it's been worked, it's no longer called tamima. It has to be fresh just for this mitzvah. Asher lo ala aleha ol, has never had a yoke on it, something that is guiding its neck, and it is perfect. It's tamima. So it's perfectly red. Perfect. Ein bo mum, has no blemish, and has never had an ol on it, a yoke. And we're going to see this word yoke can also refer to the ol malchut shemayim, the yoke of heaven, where we kind of put upon ourselves, accept upon ourselves that we're going to be committed to Hashem. And the Torah winds up limiting us as a guidance toward Hashem. So we're going to see that connection there later also in Rashi. But what does Asher lo ala aleha ol mean? Now, we're also going to see some Rashis here. And we're going to do some of them inside. To limit how much searching there is, you should take your Rashi and highlight the parts that are going to be necessary. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 divrei matkil that we're going to work with. You should highlight the sections here, which are the sections that we'll be working with. You will have some translations for these, and you will be allowed to use Chumash. So to the degree that you have it easy to navigate, it'll be that much easier for you on any assignments, quizzes, work, and learning. So you should highlight these sections. These are the ones we're going to use. If it's not highlighted, that means we're not going to be focusing on it. Certainly won't have to know it inside. You might quote it, but you won't have to know the material inside. So Zot chukat Torah lefi shehasatan va'umat alon amonim et Yisrael lomar ma hamitzvah hazot ma tam yesh ba lefi chakata b'chuka v'gazera hi lefanai ein lecha reshut laher achareha. That's the first one. That's the whole thing. It is a big one. We're going to go through that whole thing. Adumat tamima, tamima bi'ad mimut. That part is arguably important. If you can highlight that if you'd like to. It's talking about it has to be perfect in its redness. Ve'im hayu bashtei sarot shacharot basula. Right? And each of these sections, and here only the parku nizmei zahav le'egel amishalahem. Kachi b'uzo lechapara amishalahem. You don't need these extra words over here. They have them in yours. You don't need the words over here. You don't even need the deeper matkil. Same with here. You only need kach tav apara b'chaper al egel. Over here, kashem sheparku malehem ol shemayim. Remember that ol shemayim. Remember that. Seeing here too. And Yisrael shahayu tamimim v'na'asu ba'ale mumim. Mum. See it again. Tavo zo utchaper aleha miyachzuru l'tamimutam. These are the pieces of Rashi that we're going to need. So make sure to have those highlighted. We're going to take a look at this first Rashi first. Now we're going to have the whole thing in English here. We will not have the full thing in English on the other work, but you will have some of these words. Zot chukat Torah. Lefi shehasatan ve'emut ha'olam monim et Yisrael. The Satan is the accusing angel, one that spiritual force that kind of tests us. That says, are you really sincere? Are you really able to do this? And it gives us temptations and it gives us things from Hashem. Hashem is one testing us to try to make sure that we're growing. Kind of like when you're lifting weights. You don't just lift a piece of paper. You lift real weights. You want to use a little bit of leverage, a little bit of weight, resistance to grow. The Satan helps us to grow. It makes it difficult for us. And the Satan over here makes it difficult. And the Ummot Ha'olam, the nations of the world, meaning the non-Jews, Monim et Yisrael, they mock the Jews. They make fun of us. What do they say? Lomar, what do they say? Ma mitzvah hazot? Uma ta'am yesh ba? What is this mitzvah? What reason does it have? We're going to see that they see it as a chok. They recognize it as a chok, a mitzvah that is a decree or a statute that's something just do it because Hashem said so. And they say, what in the world are you doing this for? And they make fun of us. They say, why are you doing this? It's weird. And our response is, Levichak. Therefore, katav b'chukah. The Torah says, yes, we know it's a chok. It doesn't bother us. We know it's a chok, and Hashem said so, and we trust Hashem. And we're going to see a lot about that, different types of mitzvot. Now, really, all the mitzvot are in some ways chukim, and some of them are logical, and we'll see connections and reasons for it. But we also say we're okay with that. to the Satan, to the Umot Olam, we say, it's okay if it's a chok. We trust Hashem. Gezerah hi melefanai. It's a gezerah from Hashem. It's a decree from Hashem. Hashem has said to do it. Okay? Ein lecha reshut lahaher acharayha. You don't have permission to us, to them. You don't have permission to question it. Because Hashem said so, and Hashem knows what's best. And we trust Him. So here is our first Rashi. That the Satan and the Umat Olam make fun of us. They say, what in the world are you doing this mitzvah of Para Aduma for? And our response is, we trust Hashem. And we know that even though it's a chok, and we acknowledge the chok, we still are going to do it. Now, on that note, there are really three types of mitzvot. And we're going to see a lot more. There's an article dedicated to explaining these types of topics. But there are chukim, there are statutes of mitzvot that we don't fully understand the reason for. There are edut, testimonies, things that we remember specific events. We eat matzah on Pesach to remember living matzah. The sukkah, to remember living in Sukkot. The shofar remembers many different things and announces the year. There's a clear connection. In Shabbat, we remember that Hashem created the world and took us out of Mitzrayim. And then the mishpatim, the mitzvot that are between people that are logical, right? Don't kill, don't steal, things that make a lot of sense to us. We understand that they're there. These three types of mitzvot come up all over the place. But this mitzvah right now is the chukim. And it doesn't fully make logical sense. And we're okay with that. That's what Rashi is really getting at, is that we're okay with that. However, we are going to see some connections. And Rashi himself is going to bring one of those. In order to do that, we have to think back to another story. Now, hopefully this is a familiar story to you. But take a second to read this. These are the psukim of the Chet HaEgel, the golden calf. Right after Har Sinai, Moshe comes down and he finds the Jews basically worshipping Avodah Zarah, idol worship, a statue. He takes not even too long. They miscalculate. They miscount how long he was going to be up on Har Sinai for. And when they saw that he was late to return from the mountain, they kind of got toward Aaron and they commanded him, they demanded from him that they make him a god. They make him something to replace Moshe. Not even just to really new a god, not replacing Hashem, just to replace Moshe. We need someone to guide us, give us a new leader. And someone that we can say, this is the person who took us from Mitzrayim. This is the person who we trust. And Aaron tries to convince them not to do this. And he says, basically a strategy to try to convince them, there's a way that I do this. Take your gold. Take the gold rings from yourselves, your wives, your sons, all of them. Bring them to me. He knows they're not going to do this. But sure enough, they did. They took all the gold. They cast it into a mold, and out comes a golden calf, an Egel HaZahav. And they announced this is their new god. This is the one they're going to worship. This is the one they're going to work with. And there's different understandings of exactly what it is. They brought korbanot to it. They brought korbanot with it. They danced with it. And Hashem says, Moshe, hurry up, go down, because your people have lost it. They're worshiping an Egel HaZahav. It is not good. They've become corrupt. He says, I'm going to destroy them. Moshe Rabbeinu goes back up to the mountain, and he begs for forgiveness. He smashes the luchot as he's seen them, the tablets that he just got from Hashem. Many people wind up dying. Story how he ground up the calf, made them drink it. The calf itself killed anyone that worshipped it. And he begs them. He goes back to Har Sinai for another 40 days. He begs them not to destroy the Jewish people. He comes back down on Yom Kippur, kind of setting stage for that Yom Tov. And he brings news of kapara, forgiveness, atonement. There's a shift. Now they need a mishkan. Now they need somewhere to go, somewhere concrete, someone they can point to and say, this is where it is, to give them a way out, a strategy to avoid Avodah Zarah and incidents in that in the future. Why in the world are we talking about this right now? We're going to see there's some major connections between the Chet HaEgel, the sin of the golden calf, the Egel HaZahav, Chet HaEgel, right, that young calf we saw, the Chet, sin of the golden calf, Egel, and the Para Aduma, the red cow. We're going to see that in the next Pesukim, in the next Rashis.